All right, so it's time to get back to work on the 1964 Mercury Comet. Recent past videos, we have started doing the brakes. We've done the master cylinder. You have seen me run some lines. And off camera, I went ahead and worked on the right front brakes. And if you don't know it or not, brakes on this vehicle are drum brakes. So we're going to get in here. I'm going to show you what we're doing and talk about potentially what we've got coming in the future for the brakes for the 64 Mercury Comet. Well, as usual, got my cup of coffee. Like the cup says, subscribe. And we've got a camera hog here, visitor. Got the wheel off, got it supported on a jack stand. And the first thing we got to do is get the hubcap off and then start undoing the wheel bearings. So hopefully you'll be able to see. I'll be out of your way. It's all pretty straightforward stuff. Cap pops right off with a screwdriver. Your side cutters, straighten your cotter pin. I could tell when I first started tearing this down that this car was actually being driven some because everything seems to have some fresh grease in it. Cotter pins are in here and they're not all rusted. The bearings don't appear to be all rusted. So somebody was actually, like I said, was driving this car and was maintaining it. Try to do this without getting grease all over me. Need to get a clean rag. I like to try to catch my wheel bearings in a clean shop rag. These are going to probably need to be replaced, these bearings. I'll see if I can get a close-up of them. The bearing seems okay, but the race, it kind of seemed like they were pitted on the other side. These actually don't look too bad, so I may not have to replace these bearings, but like I said, I like to wrap them in a rag and keep the dirt and crap out of them. It's like the seal's working on that one, doing what it's supposed to do. When this vehicle came here, the brakes were actually working like they were supposed to. The car stopped fine, had no problems. But the what I'm wanting to do is to make sure that I don't have problems with the wheel cylinders down the road. So I'm going to go ahead and replace them with fresh wheel cylinders. That's why I'm tearing all this apart. And I'm not replacing the brake shoes themselves because they seem to be still in good condition. I have some, I did buy some new brake shoes in case I got in here and found that I needed them, but I have new hoses and new wheel cylinders. So go grab my brake tools and we'll start disassembling all of these brakes. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do, hit everything, wash everything down with some brake clean. That doesn't look too sporty. Looks like it's actually trapped behind. It is trapped behind. The brake adjuster cable is trapped behind the pivot point right there. We'll need to straighten that out and get it back where it goes. All right, you see this cable right here? It's actually tucked in behind where it goes. This is supposed to be a nice smooth transition and pivot point for it, but it's actually tucked in behind that piece, and there's no way it'll ever actually adjust the brakes. So when we put it back together, we'll have to make sure it's assembled correctly so that it does what it's supposed to do. first thing we'll do is go ahead and get some of these springs off. Get them to cooperate. There we go. Try to lay everything out like it came off. We don't know how it went back on. If we can just spread those apart and sneak these out, and we can just take the wheel cylinder out, replace it, and then put it all back together. See, that's why I'm replacing the wheel cylinders. These brakes came here working, but this brake wheel cylinder was leaking brake fluid. I didn't know it until just now. There was no signs of it leaking externally, but it is. You can see it right there. All right, so first thing you're gonna do, you're gonna take this clip off. This didn't, there's not a lot of room to film in here, but the clip just is held on the line. You take, all right, first thing you do is take your line loose here, and this your rubber line will be captured right here with a clip. You take a screwdriver and simply pry this clip out right here. Really nothing to it. And then this end will be free, and then this end is just a matter of a 5/8 wrench and spin it out of the wheel cylinder. And you have two bolts on the back of your wheel cylinder right here, which you see I've already got it loose. Two 1/2-inch bolts. One of them tried to fight me, and then the wheel cylinder comes right off. But as you can see, is that one right there is, or was, starting to leak brake fluid. So it's a good idea we go and replace these so the brake system will remain reliable. So let me go in here and dig the parts out of my parts box, and we'll get out here and put it back on. All right, so I rounded up my wheel cylinder, and we're going to take and stick the pins in it, clean them up a little bit, knock some of the crust and crud off, get the pins inserted in the rubber. And it's pretty simple. Just stick it back in there, get your bolts in it. You want to get them both started before you actually tighten them up. Get them good and tight. Kind of go in there and get your pins lined up back with your shoe. There we go. Doing it the way I'm doing it, I don't have to completely tear it down. So hopefully I can get all this lined back up without too much hassle. That spring actually holds that in place. And I'm going to end up having to go back in here because, and I should have known better, I should have ordered some new self-adjuster cables because these are fraying. So I'm going to put them back in there, and just so all the pieces are together, but I'm going to end up tearing this back down because these parts are not, all of them are not good as I expected. Alright, let's see if we can pry it. There we go. Now the cable is back where it's supposed to go. And if you're curious as to what tool I'm using, this is an older Mac, and it is an S13, and it looks like a B, an S13B. And they make this tool in Harbor Freight's got it, several people got it, and it's one of the handiest spring tools you'll have for dealing with drum brakes. Boom. Springs are back on, wheel cylinders in place. Now all I got to do is install my hose on the back side. Alright, so we've got the new hose. These, curious thing about these hoses on the 64 Mercury Comet is they fit in all three locations, both left and right, front and in the rear. It is supposedly the same part number. They do not, however, come with a copper sealing washer. So I take the sealing washer off of the old line and took a little Scotch-Brite and a little brake clean and kind of clean it up just a little bit. But you just put it on there on your line and then come in the back and fold up like an accordion. I'll take my plug out. What's going on here? What's going on here? Something's not right. It doesn't want to line up. Not cool. Not cool at all. Not cool. Okay, well, guess what? It's back apart again. This being the real world garage, we show you our mistakes. I went in and I pulled parts out of my parts box, and I did not verify part numbers. And I did not lay old part next to new part and verify the differences. So what I actually picked up was the wheel cylinder probably for the left rear. They're exactly the same as far as the mounting. Where your difference comes in is your line. You can see that there's a larger protrusion right here than there is on this one. This is going to be for the rear. This is going to be for the front. I went over and I picked up the one for the rear. Picked up the one for the front that I took off, and it was immediately clear that it was not the right part that I had grabbed. So I went in, found the right one, fixing to put it back together again. Fortunately, there's not much to it. All right, now that I got the correct wheel cylinder on here, I bet this line will go back on a lot easier. Or not. Well, you would have thought it would. Very tight by the spindle. There it goes. It's very, very tight. Make sure that crush washer is good and tight so that it seals. Now, all right, let's get our line back in place on the mount here on the frame. It sticks up in there, and all you got to do is push your keeper back in, and that's it. Holds it in place. And you start your line back. And one thing I don't like about these kits that I bought for the line is the nuts that come with it are metric. So you have to use a 10mm wrench to tighten your lines. Everything on this vehicle, with the exception of these, is standard. Because this car was built in 1964. You have to hold a backup wrench on your line and tighten it down. Here we go. Alright, well, it is time to slip the drum back on. Let's see if we're going to be able to slip it right back on or if we're going to have to fiddle with it. Shouldn't be anything to it. There it went right back on. Sometimes you have to kind of fiddle around with them. Like some of the loose debris off of my hands. And get this wheel bearing put back in. I'm going to do some wheel bearing maintenance on this thing before I start driving it on a regular basis. But these wheel bearings actually have fresh looking grease in them, and I don't see anything wrong with this side bearings. The right side bearings, I actually saw some mild pitting in the race and the bearing, and I'll probably be replacing those. But I want to tear them down, clean them, and inspect them really close before I start driving it. But right now I'm just trying to get it to where it's woeing and going. So we're going to show you real quick what I do on these, how to, if I can get the nut started back, on what I do on these on how to get them adjusted correctly. All right, now I'm going to show you how I like to adjust these wheel bearings. Taking it on there as tight as I can get it by hand, and then take me a pair of channel locks, crank down on it and spin it, and then I want to crank down on it again. Make sure I'm taking all the end play out of the wheel bearing. No end play. I'm going to loosen it until it's not touching, and just come back till it gently comes to a stop, just before I'm beginning to tighten it. Then I can check my end play. I still have a little bit, about a 1/16 of a turn. I can feel just the slightest bit of end play. You don't want to have too much preload on these bearings because they will burn out. Just the slightest amount of end play that you can feel. And you put your castellated piece back on so that you can get your cotter pin back in there. Take your side cutters and just gently bend your cotter pin around so that your nut can't back off. And you can take your cap, your dust cap, take the hammer side of your channel locks, and knock it back on there. And that's it. All right, so there's still some more minor adjustment that's going to need to be done to these brakes to run the self-adjusters up, to get them to where they are stopping like they're supposed to. I've still got to do the rears. And once I get the rears done, I will be able to add brake fluid to the system to complete this whole system rejuvenation. And hopefully it will have brakes again. When it had the single pot master cylinder, it had brakes when the car came to me. So hopefully by rejuvenating all the hydraulics on it, I still have brakes. Now, here is the update on what we are planning for this car. It is my goal, and it is strictly a goal. I want to, by the first week of June, I want to have the engine and transmission back in this car and have this car where it is moving under its own power again. That gives me about a month and a half, give or take, roughly a month and a half, to get this car to where it runs and drives and stops. Will I make it? I don't know. So what you need to do is you need to stick around and be watching for the videos. Speaking of other videos, why don't you go check out another one that's coming on the screen right now.